I'm Alexandra Samuel. You may not believe that it's possible to write a blog post in just 10 minutes, but this screencast will show you how I did it just last week. I began with a blog post that I thought looked interesting, called Digital Fasts on Stuff Christians Like, but I had only taken a very brief glimpse at it when I decided to write my own blog post. So as soon as I made that decision, I popped open WordPress in another browser window and started a new blog post. Now, just about as soon as I started writing, it occurred to me that John's rant about Blogger Fast, it reminded me of my rant about fasts that I wrote a few months ago. So I thought that would be a good jumping off point for the post. But of course, I don't remember every URL of everything I've ever written. And so I needed to have a peek. You can see I also did a little Googling about John himself before I committed to writing this post. And as soon as I found my own post about digital fasts, I pulled it up, copied the URL, and now I'm ready to link to my previous digital fast post in this new post. Voila. So now I'm started, but when I'm writing a blog post that's basically a response to someone else's blog or really just an opportunity to share a blog post that I particularly like, I don't want to just drop in somebody else's teaser, stick it in a block quote, and put it on my blog. I mean, at that point, I really do feel like I might as well have just tweeted the link. So I like to say something to set up the piece that explains why I found it interesting. And in this case, I came across John's post after a number of other digital fast posts had popped up in my Google Reader, because I search on a lot of blog and news searches that have to do with digital fasting, digital addiction, and so those keywords have brought up in recent weeks a number of digital fasts that people are doing for Lent. So that gave me a nice little framing for John's piece, since I'm imagining that it's been a lot of what his Google Reader feed might have looked like in the past few weeks as well, because if you're reading Christian blogs right now, you're going to be reading a lot of Christian bloggers saying they're off the internet for Lent. So when I found John's post, I was really excited to share it, and I wanted to say something not just about the topic, but about the quality of his blog itself, because when I took a quick peek around it to make sure I was comfortable pointing towards it, I was just really impressed by the overall quality of the blog. So again, if I'm going to comment on somebody's blog post, but if I've done a little more exploring around their blog in the process, I'll share those thoughts as part of my setup. But I do want to convey that I probably had spent at most 3 minutes on his site before this screencast began. So it's not like I spent 20 minutes doing research. I looked at the blog post super briefly, 30 seconds, realized I wanted to blog about it, did a quick scan of the rest of his site, did a quick Google to make sure I felt comfortable linking to him, and then I'm off to the races here. So what you're watching is, minute 4 to 14 maybe of the total process, but the actual writing you're seeing in real time. I didn't do any writing, any thinking about this. I just started the screencast and started typing. So once I've got an intro, I'll try and find the piece of the blog that I'm most excited to share. And sometimes there's a specific quote that's caught my eye and made me feel like I have to share this post or I have to share this quote. And in the case of this blog, it was this wonderful thing about the Bible's thin on the best way to wean yourself off of Twitter addiction. I just love that. So that had to go on the blog. So I'm always very careful when I do a blog post like this to make it really clear what's my voice versus what I'm quoting, and that's why we've got the handy block quote HTML tag, which has a nice little formatting option in WordPress. And there was another quote in John's post that I wanted to share as well. And so, I mean, how can you not love a delicious sandwich spread of boysenberry and irony? That's so perfect. It's not like strawberry and irony, it's boysenberry and irony. It's so nicely written. So, you'll see that as I wrote this, I didn't just drop in the 2 quotes I loved. I wanted to put them in the context of the overall post, and at the same time, I really do like to write something that's more of a teaser or a pointer. I really try not to recap. I mean, I could have recapped his 7 steps, but I felt like, you at that point, when you're preempting people's need to go and read the original post, it feels not super cool. It feels like you're sort of stealing their traffic. So I really try and just choose one point maybe that I'm going to share, or 1 or 2 quotes that I'm going to share, and really use my post to drive people back to the original post. Oh, it's driving me crazy to watch this replay because I can see that I've got a typo here. But I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to fix it in the original post. So y'all get to find it for me and tell me where it is, and I don't know, I feel like I should offer some kind of prize, and that will be like a nice little, test of how many people have made it to the 6-minute mark on here. So once I've got those 2 quotes, oh yeah, so I guess I should, let's see, if you can tell me what the typo is that I've just spotted. Well, first of all, if you even hear that there's a contest that I'm saying, hey, have you found this typo? I want you to send me a tweet at AWSamuel to say, hey, I'm looking for your typo. And if you find it, oh, well, absolutely. I'm going to send you my favorite internet iTunes songs. So iTunes credit to whoever tweets me first with the typo in this blog post. So once I've got those quotes in that I want to share, I really do want to encourage people back to visit the original site. And I also try and say something a little bit value added, so it's not just all a pretext of getting them to count someone else's blog post as my post. I really want to encourage people to think about what I'm sharing, or to give them my perspective on what I'm sharing in some way. So in this case, I felt like what I wanted to share, I mean, is that despite my frustration or exhaustion with people's fasts, which is, that same feeling of exhaustion is what I liked about this blog post, I wanted to just say, it's fine to share the results of your fast. It's fine to share the fact that you're fasting, but there needs to be some kind of relationship between how much you're fasting and how much you're talking about the fasting. So that was basically the point of my post. It's not a massive, earth-shaking insight, but I think it's enough to add a little something and bring some extra value to just sharing John's post, which I also think like the core value here, and this goes back to my 3-hour social media presence idea, if you're doing good searching on search terms that are finding an eclectic range of stuff, you're going to be bringing your audience stories they wouldn't otherwise find. And this is a great example. I mean, this story, I think, really speaks to the issues people read my blog for, which is, thinking about people's relationship to technology and how we live with technology. And yet, it's out of the mainstream of the kind of Mashable, read, write, web, techie, social marketing blogs that a lot of people I know read. And so when I find something like this through my search terms that I think speaks to those broader interests, I do feel like sharing it has intrinsic value, and then sharing it with my perspective is what helps my readers see how this content that I'm seeking out and finding has relevance to them. And I've been able to do all of that with just 3 hours a week of work by having a good setup and learning how to write blog posts like this in literally 10 minutes. So yes, I spend more than 3 hours, but you can see from this that 10 minutes is enough. Good luck, and I look forward to reading your 10-minute blog post. This has been Alexandra Samuel.